This is a podcast of Nathan, Nat and Sean.
Our very special friend Maggie Dent joins us now. She's got a new book out and she's threatening us. This is her last.
Can't be true, Nat.
Done. It's called Help Me, Help My Teens, supporting our teens through tough times. Maggie Dent, good morning.
Good
What do you
morning.
mean it's your last, Maggie? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
no, done. No, I have to, you have to move on and let the next generation of wise people
Have you
come
run out of
forward.
wisdom?
No.
She's run out of biros.
No, I'm gonna write fiction.
Are you?
Are
So
you?
much easier. Come on.
Yeah.
So much work.
What are we thinking?
Well, I would
About a
like
boy
to write,
wizard?
No. I'd like to run the story, run some fictionalised version of a country celebrant, because the stories I have from funerals and weddings with tiger snakes and bushfires would be so fun.
Yeah, that's
It would
great.
be.
Sounds like a movie
so a
on the
country
march as well.
celebrant.
Yeah, what a...
No,
it's a crime-fighting country celebrant?
No, not that one. But then I also have one I want to write, because I taught in Mirrabooka Senior High School, which was one of the toughest schools in the state, for 12 months when I was about 24. And oh my God, compared to a country high school, the stories that nobody would believe, and they deserve to see the light, because it wasn't the students that were the problem, really.
Yeah,
It was
wow.
the world around them.
Hey Maggie,
wow.
I had an idea about a movie plot the other day.
Yeah.
We were speaking with Andrew Gaze.
Yes,
and
we were.
He was
Yeah.
because Sean was under the understanding that the American basketball team, all
Yep.
the big stars,
Yep.
were staying on a cruise ship. He said, no, they're actually staying in a different place, and they're catching the train each day, and the train's being shut down, and the only people on it are the American basketball team. And I said, oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing if someone knew that was happening, and then they were to
Yes.
hijack the train and then ransom the American basketball team? Wow. How good would that be?
Yeah. No, you need to write it too.
Yeah.
But
Get off
I'm
your
a
butt.
marriage celebrant. And I'm on there going to do a wedding, and then I uncover it. So it's weird that you're doing a marriage celebrant one too.
It's very good.
It's just weird.
I love it.
Hey, and Maggie, your book is fantastic. Because I was just thinking about it. So I've got a couple of teenagers left. Well, I've got three actually,
Yeah.
but the two youngest ones.
Yeah.
Never give them any slack for being teenagers. And in fact, my wife's away, so I can say whatever I want at the moment. But
Because it'll never get back to us.
No,
Okay,
never get
go
back to
ahead,
us.
Sean, go.
Every day she's teeing off on one of the boys because he's not organised and or cleaning his room. And I know we've had this conversation before, but all they get up is, they make groaning noises, they eat, and that's all they need to do at this point in time. Do you need to hassle them out?
Oh, look, it's one of the pet hates that, particularly boys, so what's the problem if I've got a floor drope? And then there's a bit of a reason behind the reason that they've got all their clothes on the floor, is because when Mum packs it away into the cupboards, they don't know where anything is. So when it's on the floor, they find it easier. So I love the pragmatism of that. So for me, if I was going to stress every time out of, I had three boys in, adolescent years at the same time, I would have destroyed the relationship, but I would have turned the house into a nag fest. So I just shut their door so I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And they've all turned up to be really decent humans. So I guess we've got to look at, I want you to save all your energy for the big stuff, which is what's in the book. And I want you to keep thinking, do they feel safe here? Do they feel loved? Because what we know is the number one thing that your teen or anyone else's teen needs to get through this journey, which is tumultuous and bumpy for all the right reasons, is do they have one safe person who could be a safe base when they muck up?
Yeah.
Have they got someone who's going to love them no matter what they do, crash your car, get caught with the bong, whatever? Have they got one person? So the untethered teens don't have anyone. And that's why I write about this is for parents, but it's also for those lighthouse figures who, sometimes an aunt, uncle, grandparent, sometimes a good teacher who just takes a kid aside, says, mate, you're just wasting your time here and you've got a brain. I want you to give it a go, right? That little gem, I call it a seed of potential.
Right.
If it's not sown, it can't germinate. And if all they're getting is, this is what you're doing wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, they are drowning with a negative self-critic that is telling them everything that is negative about them. They all do it. And that's the sad part of negative social media. It feeds the negativity, so they all hate themselves. What they need is, TLC and someone who can say, oh, it's awful, but it doesn't last forever.
I understand, and I think that's all brilliant, and, to care about their mental well-being, something that wasn't put in the mix when we were younger.
No.
But also, if you are hassling them to do something around the house, so shouldn't they do it?
Absolutely.
Honestly,
Yeah.
because we're saying let's just lay off them. You're watching. I understand the
your battles.
frustration.
Yeah.
But what if everything's like a battle? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do we do?
Okay, so we start hopefully in the tween years is that we're in a home and everyone contributes to how the house runs, and therefore there are chores that everyone does, and that means that if you're in a house with mum and dad, they also do some because of course they might notice that. But the big key thing is that when we start letting them not do it, then we're starting to let the slippery slide start, and that is so one of the key things about adolescents is they want more autonomy and more choices. So anytime you tell them what to do, you're going to get pushback, which, it happens for toddlers as well, let's be honest. So it's about how do I direct them so that they know this is an expectation that's not negotiable. Well, what you do is you give them some choice around it. So, right, it's after school. Harry, your turn to do the dishwasher. Do you want to do it now or just before dinner? So I'm giving you a choice when, but mate, you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think what we do is we just nag the hell out of them. We shout at them. We complain at them. We criticise them. They just pull further and further away, get narkier, and that's the way you don't get cooperation.
Okay.
But we lighten up and go, it's your turn. Well, we won't eat till it's done. So if you're hungry, mate, it's going to happen. But you're going to, can you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't get away with it, but we don't shout and shame like we used to.
Yeah.
Maggie, you did mention the bong situation, and there's drinking involved when you've got teenagers.
Yes.
And if you can bury your head in the sand and say this doesn't happen. Kids, my kid's only 14, 13, whatever the case is, but this is happening a lot. If you do catch your child in this situation, most of us would fly off the handle. I'm pretty sure I'd probably go nuts at some stage. How do you deal with it properly?
Oh, yes, you nailed it beautifully. It doesn't matter if your toddler just got temporarily lost in the supermarket.
Yeah.
The first thing you do when you reconnect is you lose your schmick.
Yeah.
It's a biological wiring for us as we go, what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
We do that when we slam their finger in a car door. Normal response first up is anger. Second response is panic or denial. Now, none of those things help when your teen's made a poor choice or you're really concerned about them, which is why I wrote the book, because what I've found is that we calm down and get ourselves in a cool state, and then we're thinking about, I just need to get some serious information on how I'm coming forward to this, because the journey of adolescence is a journey of growth towards independence. So I want them to be able to deal with stuff, right? But I want them to know what are the potential risks, because you lecturing them about it isn't okay. But I've just printed off some stuff and I want us to have a look at it. Can you see this here? So, that taking risks, exactly what they're wired to do. And for boys, their impulse control inhibitor is turned off. So they're even more likely, if they're in the company of their mates, to make really dumb decisions. And it's the nature of how adolescence has always been. So when we come alongside them with anger, we shame them. And shame creates a big rage, which means the relationship can be damaged. Remember I said the one thing you need is one safe person who's going to love you when you muck up.
Oh.
And so that's why I say cool your jets down and then come alongside them with ready, calmness, and that can take 2 or 3 days.
And
you
the
don't
bomb
have
you
to
found
deal
will
with
help,
it.
Sean, if you have a bit of that. Before you just have a token and
And
deal with
a
it.
bag of twisties.
And then get curious, like, I just noticed this and I know, I just need to know what's going on. And then compassion, but you're right. And then go and eat ice cream instead of
Oh, well,
smoke
they'll
the
be
bomb.
hungry.
This is the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast. This is the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
We're joined by the magical Maggie Dent, who just solves all of your problems for a short time only, though, because she's giving up this line of work to become a fiction writer. Maggie Dent, her last book,
Yep.
Help Me, Help My Teen, supporting
I'll
our teens
always
through
come and
tough
talk to
times.
you guys.
Yep.
Maggie, you're
The next
amazing.
book is going to be 50 Shades of something.
Okay,
you're
Maggie,
a
we've got
rat
Steve from South
He's
Rio.
shaky.
Morning, Steve.
G'day, guys. How you going?
Hey,
Steve.
Steve, you've got a teen that's an issue. What's going on?
So she's been really good all the way through her teen years. We thought we'd dodged a bullet. And then as she turned 17, she's refusing to go to school. She's had a bit of an identity crisis going on.
Oh.
So, and she should be in year 11, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the identity crisis? Like, what's she struggling with?
Well, look, she was a really good student, and she was an elite athlete, doing elite athlete etc. She's pulled out of ATAR and then pulled out of her athletics training,
Oh.
and now she's refusing to go to school. Saying she doesn't feel like going.
All right.
Maggie.
Yeah,
help.
no, that's a big shift and a big sideways thing. Usually when they make those great big shifts, then something really big has either happened or is happening in that space. So, and this is kind of one of the things I'd say, you've got to be able to get some sort of professional help on this one. These are the kind of things that I talk about. When do you let it go? When do you not?
Yep.
These are big changes, and she's obviously was really pretty capable on either levels, and she is now in complete sabotage. So she's shutting a whole stuff down. Something inside her is convinced that she's not good enough, or it's just not who she is, or something has happened in one of those spaces that has fed it into the other. So if in her elite stuff she didn't reach a target she wanted, or there was some nastiness in whichever sport, or she had a toxic coach and she hasn't shared it with you. And in the school environment, it's the same sort of thing. Sometimes they just go like I did. I was 17 when I failed that essay and thought, nah, I'm just completely hopeless and useless.
So
I'm
you
never
just
going to
shut
make
down?
it.
Yeah.
I just shut down. And so again, coming alongside her, I bet you've had all those conversations. You've tried to say what the heck's going on, but she's shut it all down. She needs somebody else other than mum and dad to do that bit of a journey. That was exactly the place I had. And I'd probably, sometimes it can be, a school counsellor, which obviously is not going near the school environment, but sometimes a counsellor or a psychologist, even if you can't get into them, I know it's really tricky, you have to play really careful attention to any other shifts in her behaviour. What are her friendship stuff happening? Is that still happening, or has that changed? What is her eating? What is she sleeping like? What are the behaviours? Because as soon as they start locking all those things down, something really big is happening in her world. So come alongside her, and that's the whole reason I wrote the book, When Do I Really Worry? And how do I have the conversation that opens the conversation, not shuts it down, because I'm panicking and I'm really worried. And that's exactly, where I'd start with and work out, how do I do that? Things are really tough. I get that. Can you help us understand what's going on, Fizz? Because we've got your back no matter what goes on. And we love you, and we want to help you make the choices that help you become whoever you're meant to be.
Oh, that must be so scary as a parent.
Yep.
Like when they're so involved,
Yes.
and then suddenly detach themselves from everything.
Yep.
Oh,
But the answer to that, normally the answer from them is nothing.
Yes.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's
Nothing's
right.
going on.
So it's
Yeah.
about
I
how
just
do
don't
I
wanna
get
do
them
that.
to talk, and that's why I've got a whole big chapter about communication, because it's a very different game than talking to a grown-up.
Okay.
All right. Good luck,
Steve.
Steve. We wish you all the best. Teresa, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Okay,
Good,
Teresa.
Teresa.
Now, you've got a 15-year-old son?
I do. And I heard Sean's comment this morning about the whole teenage and alcohol. So the situation is, obviously, I purposely went through school bag, but went through school bag, found a hip flask in his school bag. He does go to a private school. He, wants to exceed, and he does quite well at school. So obviously, sorry, Maggie, what I didn't do is I lost my shit, as you do.
No, it's normal.
And obviously, I think he, obviously tried to defend himself and say, I'm going through his stuff. And then, so I did calm down after a couple of days, and we had a bit of a chat last night. And I don't know whether I should have said this, but I did actually say how disappointed I was and how absolutely ashamed I was, only because, we do send him to a private school, and he's always done so well. And I tried to make him understand that what he's done, and luckily enough I found it, not the school, is that it's an expulsion. So his career would have just been, his high school years would have been worse. He, wants to go to university. But the hard thing I'm grappling with is clearly I've taken everything away from him. His phone, his social media, his school laptop, I've told him, is literally only for school only now. And look, he has been very obliging.
Yep.
But the guilt I've got now is I've taken everything from him. What do I give back? Like, I feel terrible in literally taking everything from him. And he did actually say last night that he's spoken to his head of year, and he's actually going to go and see a counsellor. So now I don't even know what else is going on.
yeah.
And I don't know what to do. I'm
All right.
at a loss.
I'm coming.
There's a lot, Maggie.
All right.
There's a lot.
So very
Yeah.
first thing is forgive yourself for losing your schmick, because as I just explained, is what we biologically wired to do. My only concern is that you did the disappointment shame one on him, and that's like a massive burden that I want you to at some point come back and take off his back, because parental disappointment is a massive. It comes up in all the research, and all the survey that I did is the hardest thing is when I let my parents down. And I've got to not only carry my own disappointment with myself, I have to carry my parents' disappointment. And the very fact he knows how much you're paying for that private school makes it even bigger. So I want you to at some point have another conversation with him, provided, feed him first, make him feel safe, and go, I needed to, like I was disappointed, but I forgot you would have been disappointed in yourself. So it's okay. I get it. And also I understand this is what teens do. I want you to come along inside and say, now I understand, that you make poor choices, you are risk-taking, your impulse control's not good, and you're actually not deliberately being a bad human. I want you to change that conversation a little bit. And then going to whatever you're doing, you've taken him off everything. So that is actually putting him into a highly stressful state, because connection to friends is one of their protective factors. So I want you to work out how we can get back into some sort of, because you can't just punish and hope that changes his behaviour. I want you to come in and go, I realise punishment doesn't teach anything. I think you've learned a really big lesson from this experience. You are going to see someone, which is fantastic. How about we work out what would you like to be reconnected with your friends? How do you reconnect to them? So serious friendship alliances are a really important part of our teen survival through this really big window. So, that's just my suggestions. And then I want you to write him a love note and, love it, put it in his lunchbox, write it on his pillow, reassure him you love him exactly the same as before all this happened.
Did say to him, do you want a big hug?
Yeah.
Even bigger than that. You've got to put it in words, because they're not always good.
Okay.
Yeah, hug the hell out of him. Restore him that this is just a little bump and it's a bumpy ride, but we still love you exactly the same amount, and I know you're going to learn from this mistake. And I always believe in not only second chances, but third too, if you have to.
Yeah.
Well done, Mum.
I know.
Oh,
Okay,
tough.
thank
Good luck,
you.
Teresa.
Good luck. Maggie, thank you so much. It's always a joy to catch
You're the
up
best,
with you
Maggie.
and
Maggie.
come and see us. And we'll still interview
Now, I'll
when
be
you're
still
spruiking
coming
your
to
fiction.
talk about parenting. I'm just
Okay,
not
great.
writing any more books, okay? So still coming to see you guys, right? Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Are you
The book,
serious?
and it's a weighty tome too, let me tell you.
We'll be taking calls from regional marriage celebrants
Celebrants.
next
With their
time
stories.
with their questions.
It's got Help Me Help My Teens, supporting our teams through tough times, and there's heaps of information in there, and I'm sure
So good, Maggie.
we would
Thank
we'd
you.
give away these copies, but Sean's keeping
Oh,
them all for
and
okay.
Maggie,
himself.
quickly while we got you,
Yep.
there's a new TV show coming out
Yeah.
that involves Kate
Woo!
Ritchie.
And the role of a lifetime.
Tell
I
us.
know, right?
Tell us
We're
quickly
gonna
about
have, okay, so we're going to look at some of the common dilemmas, and some of them are actually in my book, that parents have to deal with. And instead of having actual teenagers or kids do it, we've got fantastic people like Kate Ritchie and Naresh doing it. So we've got comedians being kids. And then I
Yes.
come along, and a couple of other experts come along and say, so this is why this happens. This might be a choice you can do. So it's kind of looking at parenting through a slightly hilarious lens, but I think it'll be really helpful as well. But no children are involved.
Awesome.
Just comedians pretending to be kids.
Yep, that's
Oh,
great.
wow.
We're on board with that.
Yeah, that's
we love
great.
your work. Thanks,
Thanks,
Maggie.
babe.
It's always a joy.
Nathan, Nat, and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.